Hey guys, we're here on the Blue Collar Future podcast, and we've got Alan Draper with us today.
Hey man, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
How was your flight over here from Arizona?
Yep. Piece of cake. Quick hour flight or so.
Yeah.
So no trouble there.
No troubles. So you pretty much came here to get on a couple podcasts.
Yeah. I have a couple of businesses in Utah, some business partners that live here. So just kind of balling it all together and quick trip. About 2 days and I'm here.
Yep. Well, let's just get right to it then.
Let's do it.
What do you do?
I do a lot of things.
A lot.
I own 29 businesses. I do, everything from real estate investing. I own a digital marketing agency, but I built everything on top of a pest control company, actually. So that was my first non-real estate business. I'm an attorney. I was practicing law in Phoenix, and decided to move to Detroit and start a pest control company. So, but I invest in a lot. I'm an angel investor. I'm a business coach. Writing a book. So,
A lot.
Quite a few different things.
Yeah. What did you choose Detroit for to start a pest control? Did you have a connection or was a destination for you or what?
It was the market where we wanted to go. We really liked it. My brother is my business partner. He's really heavily involved in door-to-door sales, and he thought that would be a really good market, and he was right. It's one of the best moves we've ever made. Everybody was telling us not to go there. This was over a decade ago.
Yeah.
So wasn't the hot spot of commerce.
Yeah.
But we love it there.
Yeah.
So
do you have a place out there? Or you go there anymore? Or?
I haven't been to Detroit for several years now.
Yeah.
That's a lie. I was there last year, but I was there golfing. I did not. I didn't go into our office or anything.
Nice. Yeah. Pest control. How has that been for you? I mean, you built everything off of pest control, and there's a lot of pest control businesses here.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of pest control businesses that don't do a good job, and they grow too fast.
Mm-hmm.
And how has that been? I guess I should say.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because those types of companies, they're not really pest control companies. They're marketing companies.
Yeah.
The good pest control companies are the ones that are good at operations. They're good at getting their hands dirty. Now there's also the business, finance, and marketing side to them, of course, but and we're good at those things. We're good at the business side. That's how we've been able to scale it. But you gotta take care of your people on the ground level.
Yeah.
Pest control is kind of weird because people don't come to you. You go to them. It's home service.
Uh-huh.
So your brand is your technicians and your trucks. That's it. That's what they see of your company. Mm-hmm. And, we've had to learn that. It's funny because when we started, we were so focused on the business and the marketing, which, I mean, in any business you have to be, because you got to keep the lights on. Mm-hmm. But we quickly realized, hey, we've got to get good at this pest control stuff, and we've got to hire really talented people that have been in the industry for a long time, because that's not us. Mm-hmm. But we were able to do that early and have some success there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How is it keeping technicians working for you and taking care of them? Because there's a lot of, here there's a turnover rate, but it's mainly the salespeople, right? Because people do the door-to-door sales, and they do it for summers, and that's basically it. So how have the employees been for you guys? Because that's a huge thing for most people that they struggle with.
Yeah, especially our technicians.
Yep.
It's an ongoing struggle, but we're getting better at it. Mm-hmm. And what we've learned is that if we can align our interests, there's a couple of things that go into that I've learned over the last decade. Yeah. But if we can align our interests, and we like to sit down with people and say, hey, this is the job you're applying for. These are kind of the ins and outs. But where do you want to be in 3, 5, 10 years? Mm-hmm. And if we can show them a path of, hey, well, we have this leadership training program. So when we hire you to be a start technician, that's not all we have in store for you. And that's not all you should have in store for yourself. Like, do you want to manage people? Some do, some don't. Okay, that's fine. Do you want to be a different type of technician? Do you want to do maybe some sales and some teching or whatever? So we try to find out how we can align interests so that they're not bored or feel underwhelmed in, 3-5 years down the road. Yeah. The other thing we've realized is people are just generally, they're really bad predictors of what they want and what motivates them.
Yeah.
And there was a study that was done 10, 15 years ago, and they measured. So first they did a survey and they asked people like, hey, what is the number one motivator for you in the workplace? And what did everybody say? 90+% of people said it's money.
Money, yeah.
Then they continued the experiment, and they set it up so that people would do different tasks with different motivators that they didn't know were going on. Mm-hmm. And they found that money's not even in the top 3.
Yeah.
And the number one thing that people want to find in a company, whether they will admit it or not, and most of the time they won't, is they want to work together with people that they like to achieve a common goal.
Yeah.
And so as an employer, if you can create that and show that to them, you're going to find that you're able to retain people. Now, that all being said, you do have to pay people commensurate with the market. Because unless they're making enough to survive, then that's going to be, I always say that if you're heads underwater, it doesn't matter what your swimming stroke looks like. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with employees.
Yeah, that goes along with what I've come to find out lately is money isn't the biggest motivator.
Yeah.
People think it is though, which is an interesting concept because when they're looking for jobs, they're trying to find the thing that pays the most.
Yeah.
And then they get there and then they end up hating it because the culture sucks, terrible boss, they don't like what they do, blah, 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 blah. And it comes down to a bunch of other motivators like, are they fulfilled? Do they feel like they have like a purpose at work? It doesn't even come down to what you enjoy. Can they work to become better at something? Because that's almost synonymous with enjoying something.
Yeah.
Like learning skills and seeing progress is enjoyment in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Improvement is a big part of happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. So having a goal for them and having them to be able to see where they'll be and actionable steps to get there would be a great thing for anybody to implement in their business, I'm imagining.
Yeah, and the key is to align interests.
Yeah.
So if you have a pest control company and you want the technician to service the stops and maybe sell or whatever, do a good job, customer service score, whatever, you're not going to incentivize them to, design logos.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's an extreme example, but a lot of times businesses will do this.
Yeah.
They will try to align interests, but it's like, it's win-win or no deal is what it is. And it's the business. So I coach businesses, and sometimes I'll get this question like, hey, my people they're lazy. They don't want to go the extra mile. They, clock out early or whatever. And I look at them and I'll tell them, that's 100% up to you. Who hired this person? You did? Okay. Who trained this person? You did? Well, then how was it their fault? Either you hired the wrong person or you didn't do a good enough job training or helping them see the vision. And there's so much that we can do, but business owners, and I get it. This is me a couple of years ago. We just like to blame it on the people. And sometimes it's the people. Sometimes you hired the wrong. Trust me, man, I have hired some of the worst people out there, but I've also hired some of the best.
Yeah.
And if you hire the best and you keep the best, those mistakes you make in between, they don't matter.
Yeah. So how are you finding these people? Because that's another thing. Because it's one thing to be able to get the people and get them in the door and keep them. It's another thing altogether to find them. And people, I think, are lacking on all aspects, from finding good work, finding good helpers to being able to train them to aligning their values and everything like that.
So a big part of what we do in a lot of our companies is we use referral programs from people that already work there. Now that's more like a brand move for a company than like a lead generator, right? A lead generator would be, hey, let's, post on Indeed, let's use some, Facebook, which we do.
Yeah.
We're always hiring. I have people reach out to me all the time because of my Instagram or what podcast or whatever, and I'll always at least get them an interview. Just had somebody the other day, sharp kid that I could not have found on Indeed.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this shotgun approach, finding people, but a lot of companies won't quote unquote, hire somebody because they're not quote unquote hiring.
Yeah.
And we don't ever do that. If we find somebody that we want to work with, we will hire them and we'll find something for them to do until the season is right or whatever. Because pest control is very seasonal. Our digital marketing agency is somewhat seasonal. So a lot of those positions, it's not the right time. Mm-hmm. And we'll hire them anyway. We'll pay them for three months, just lose on the bottom line, mm-hmm. and then make that sacrifice.
I mean, how much money could you be losing out on if you only hired when you needed work, and then you couldn't fulfill the stuff because you didn't have enough people and they weren't trained? So it makes more sense to be able to hire even when you don't need it, to when you do need the work and the help, that you have all the employees and they're trained and ready.
Yeah. I mean, if you've been in business long enough to want to scale your business, have everything that you need except for people to scale your business, I don't think you'll ever go back. And I've been in that position where people were banging our door down, mm-hmm. and we couldn't service the accounts or we couldn't get back to them. It's like, dude, I'll never be there again. It's a good problem to have if you have too many people. It reminds me of this story that Barbara Cochran, she's one of the sharks on Shark Tank. Yeah. She was New York, like real estate magnate, right, in Manhattan or whatever. And she talked about how when she started her brokerage and, the first few years, what she would do is she would get office space and just fill it with desks, even though she didn't have agents to fill the desks. She didn't have agents to sit in those desks. And she realized that when she had all these desks, the agents would just come, that she would just find them because she already had the place for them. So she'd be talking to somebody. She's like, hey, I got a desk for you. Or, somebody would be asking her for a job, whatever. Right. And so when business is all about overcoming hurdles. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. You're solving problems. You're overcoming hurdles. That's what it is every day, all day. When you can be proactive and solve problems before they occur, man, you're gonna outpace your competitors, and that's exactly what she was doing.
That's like keeping yourself open. I mean, having the place in your mind already for these people to work for you. I mean, yeah. It's like having your goals and your visions.
Exactly, it's exactly the same thing.
And your mind will find ways to make them happen. Your mind will find ways to. I mean, you'll notice opportunities when you maybe wouldn't have because you're looking in the back of your mind.
Exactly. It's a very similar concept where wherever we're looking, we're going to find what we're looking for, right? And so that's why it's so important that we put, and I'm really big into what I put into my head and the people I spend time with, mm-hmm. because it changes what you see. Mm-hmm. We all have different realities, but we all think that our reality is the real one.
The only one, yep.
But when you start rubbing shoulders and hanging out with different levels of people, you realize when there's a subset of people complaining about a certain situation, downturn in the economy, mm-hmm. inflation, whatever. One of my businesses is that I loan money to other businesses. So I'm a lender. Mm-hmm. So when inflation goes up, interest rates go up, and there's this you just rub shoulders with people that they take what seems like a crappy situation and they turn it on its head. Most millionaires are made during recessions. And so you find those people, and when you're reading positive things and you're listening to podcasts like this one and you're doing those types of things, it changes your whole life, because now as opposed to having your head down, you have your head up.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on something earlier that I wanted to talk about. As soon as you reached out to me, I thought it would be perfect. You're a lawyer.
Yeah.
You went to law school, graduated and everything, and you don't practice law. What is that all about?
Yeah. I always say that I'm a lawyer turned bug guy, and it's the best professional move I ever made.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I remember it was about a month before I moved my small family, young family, had a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old, to Detroit and quit the law. It was when I started telling people about it. And I went to lunch one day with my law school buddies, people I went to law school with. They were in the trenches with me. Law school is tough, man. It's like, and I know like a lot of people are like, yeah, no crap. Like,
Yeah.
but it's hard, and the bar is really hard. And so these are the guys that I studied with and spent, the last 3 or 4 years, school, bar exam, and then when we were practicing law together, they couldn't believe it, man. Yeah. They were like, wait, what? You're going to move to Detroit and become a bug guy? Let's fast forward 10 years, Jaden.
Yeah.
This is 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 of those guys reached out to me. And they're like, hey, we're thinking about starting a firm. Can we borrow some money?
Yeah.
And so I said, absolutely, but I'm going to need a little more than an interest rate. I'm going to buy into the firm. And so I don't practice law anymore. I'm still a licensed attorney, and I'm a named partner in a law firm in Arizona. So
yeah, in a roundabout way, you're still, some sort of a lawyer, I guess. I mean, you still are, but you don't practice it.
Yeah, I'm still a lawyer, but I'm 95% bug guy.
It's just interesting to me, because a lot of this podcast is about blue collar work, and it's about people. We're talking about jobs you don't need to go to school for.
Yeah.
First of all. And a lot of times I find that people go to school, they get their degree. It's not what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's not what their calling is. And I'm not necessarily against school, but I'm against people going to school without having some sort of idea of what they want to do, because that's what the culture is right now. It's go to school, get a degree, whatever it is. And they go, they try this, they try that, they spend all the money, they get the degree, and then they don't want to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
And they don't even end up using the schooling. But I'm imagining that the law school helped you with business.
Yeah.
To some extent.
No, it did. And just backtracking it a couple of minutes here. Don't ever let something good prevent you from doing something great.
Yeah.
I was making good money.
Yeah.
I drove a nice car and had plenty, I don't know. It wasn't, and people always say this to me, Jane. They're always like, oh, you hated practicing law that much? No, I didn't. There were things about it that I miss. So that was a big thing, and school does that.
Yeah.
College does that. And I have a Juris Doctorate degree from a top 20 law school. But I'm going to try to convince my kids to not go to college. Now, if you're exactly right. If they're like, hey, Dad, I want to be a veterinarian or whatever. Okay, for sure.
Yeah, you got to.
And sometimes, at that age, they don't know what they want to do. And I tell them, man, I don't even know what I want to do when I grow up, right? Because it always seems to be something else.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's something I'm very passionate about. There's this thing when the Department of Education started creating these subsidized loans, tuition shot through the roof. It just got out of hand, and I'm not a fan of that system. College is way too expensive. There is a place for it for some.
Is. Yep.
But I don't think that it should be hey, what are you doing after high school? I don't know. I think I'm going to go to enroll in college. Go
Because
go do something else. Go learn a trade.
yeah,
I mean, your life will just be so much better whether you end up creating a business from that trade or not.
Yeah.
There's so much more money there.
Yep.
You don't have the debt.
Yep.
A lot of the careers that you get kind of shoved into, you're not interested in the first place.
Yep.
And my generation was, my parents, it was a badge of honor for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have kids that went to school, and,
Yep.
and I get that. That was important to them, and that's a lot of the reason why I went initially.
Yep.
But yeah, that's just not what I'm going to be pushing on my kids.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're seeing quite a bit of a shift away from it, because even when I was in school, I mean, you go talk to your school counselors, they're like either convincing you to go to college just because,
Yeah.
or they're telling you that you probably can't go to college because you're not smart enough and that you should just go do something else. It's almost like, you know, you go work in a trade because you're not smart enough to go to college, and that's the reason.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh no, I just want to. I mean, they're great careers, you know, and you can be hands on and learning how to use learning skills that can be super fulfilling, and that's not looked at all. There's no support for it in a high school counselor setting, or at least when I was in school. So
Yeah, you know what's funny is that there's moments where, you know, and this is true of the trades and with pest control, where I'm like, dude, maybe I should stop like telling everybody how freaking cool it is. Yeah. Because then maybe it won't be so cool. So like the fact that counselors are not convincing people to go to trades, to become welders, to be like working in construction, be building things with their hands.
Yep.
Like, tell me how, I mean, you want to talk about AI and like the types of information that are available. It's like, dude, there's just always going to be a need for those types of things.
Yep.
And anyway, so I'm not super sad that counselors aren't telling people to become bug guys and you know,
I mean, then when they finally do come around to these types of jobs, they're like, wow, this is actually awesome.
Yeah.
It's just a little disheartening because, I mean, I even grew up in construction, and I had this idea in the back of my mind that it wasn't what I should do, because it wasn't glamorous. It wasn't, you couldn't make money doing it, like all of this stuff, because to be wealthy, you need to go to school. And I think that's my biggest problem is like people have this idea that you have to go to school to become wealthy and do well. But the people I know that have the most money, most of them just started a business.
Yeah.
And they don't even go to school. I mean, I don't know. I can't include you in that because you went to practice law, but you don't even use your degree either. So it's like, people go to school to get business degrees. They don't even need to. So it's just it's like this whole overhyped situation for me.
It's weird because it's like it is useful but not necessary.
Yeah.
And in some cases it's not useful. In mine, and I don't know if this is a confirmation bias where I'm like, well, I went to law school. I don't want to say that 3 years plus the bar exam plus my 3 years practicing law was a complete waste. So maybe I'm saying that, but it does allow me to think analytically. I'm kind of the general counsel for all of our companies, and there's 4 lawsuits that we're involved in right now, but we hired firms to handle that. So I think there's an aspect of it helping, but it's definitely not necessary. And I like this mission you're on to like tell people you can be very, very wealthy and get your hands dirty, literally dirty, throughout the day. Yeah. You know, like, so I have this thing against social media. Yeah. Like, because it's all fake, right? Yep. Not all of it, but 90% of it. So you see the guys like, hey, where's your Amazon store? And taking pictures and, rented cars and stuff like that. And I hate it. Yeah. Because my goal is to help people know what they have to sacrifice to actually build businesses and wealth. Mm-hmm. The problem is that I'm fighting against a system that has a much louder voice that's like, hey, you got to wear a Gucci belt or you're not successful. I hate that crap, man.
Yeah,
like I rarely wear a shirt that costs me more than $6.
Yeah.
And I have likely a lot higher net worth than people that are wearing that stuff. And a lot of the reason is because of that. I read a book when I was younger called The Millionaire Next Door. And it talks about how, like, when you see somebody that has a really nice car, okay, you should, most people in the United States assume what? That person's wealthy.
Wealthy, yeah.
Now, that's true of some people. I have some really nice cars.
Yep.
And people look at me and they're like, okay, he's wealthy. Okay, you got that one right. 90% of the time you're wrong. And why is that the case? Well, because the idiot is buying liabilities instead of assets.
Yep.
And so one of my rules, I have 10 laws that govern money. One of those laws is that you should not buy a toy or an expensive liability unless you have at least $1 million net worth. And I probably need to push that money up because since the current administration, $1 million isn't what it was, just a few short years ago.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Social media is a really great tool, but like you said, it's fake. And that's my biggest thing with my social media is trying to not show any of that type. I mean, not like I'm super wealthy, but like I don't want to show that type of stuff to be fake. I'm not trying to go rent cars and do that stuff because that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not the most important thing anyways. I mean, we even just discussed how a lot of people, the driving factor for a job that they have is not money. A lot of people are willing to take pay cuts even nowadays for something that aligns with their values. And I actually saw a study just recently that was saying that most people in the current generation are willing to take a pay cut to spend more time with their family.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting shift because a lot of people were so money driven for so long.
Yeah. And what's interesting is they're going to be much better at their job. Yeah. So those people that are spending more time with their families or, now there's a time and place to like put in the work, right? Yeah. But you can get creative with things. And I think that goes back to aligning interests. Like, hey, what does this person want? This person wants more time with their family. Okay, what are they going to give up in exchange for that? Well, they're going to take less pay. Okay, well, awesome. If they take less pay, they spend more time with their family, they're going to be better at their job. Then I'm going to expect XYZ out of them, whatever. And I'm going to have, that extra budget to maybe hire somebody else or maybe get a software program to take on 10% of their job or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we're in a current economy where we have to be open to stuff like that.
Yep.
Where we have to be creative. Where it gets hard is where you need boots on the ground.
Yeah.
That's where it gets hard.
It's true.
There's still some things you can do, right? There's in a lot of our industries, it's like, man, I still need a guy out there, gal out there, with work gloves on.
Yep.
And nothing can really replace that. But you can still find some creative ways to make the workplace enjoyable for them.
Yeah. Well, and I mean that being said right there, there's such a need for it that their wages are higher to begin with because you can't find them. And so that's going to be attracting people as people start to realize that these desk jobs where they're, worried about getting their job taken over by some AI program or like whatever it happens to be, they're going to start coming around to the fact that they can go work a job doing pest control, doing construction, whatever, and make money, have time with their family, do all that stuff because it's needed. And we do need people. I mean, there's a shortage for sure of people that want to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's been for so long. It's like, don't do that. That's for dirty, uneducated people.
Yeah.
Not glamorous, like, whatever it is. No future.
It's crazy, man. No, I love that. I work we always joke about how pest control is like maybe a half step above janitorial services. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Do you guys offer anything other than pest control since you're a home service business? Because some people would like to probably pay for, I don't know, driveway washing or window washing or like whatever while you have technicians out doing stuff.
Yeah, so we have partners that do a lot of
Partners do
stuff.
that?
Yeah, so we, window washing, landscaping,
Yep.
pool cleaning,
Yep.
all that stuff. We have attic clean outs, insulation, like,
And it's just different businesses that you partner with.
yep,
for
we
that.
partner with them. Now, as time goes on, we're going to start building some of those departments within
Your business.
within our business. We've integrated more, on the business and accounting side of things than we have on the actual service side. So I started a digital marketing agency. So now my pest control companies don't have to pay a third party, pay a company that I own.
Yep.
So we've integrated more like that, where a lot of people would integrate with their service ads. And we have different types of pest control service offerings and things like that. But there's home service, man. There's the solar and pest control work really well together.
Yep.
Anytime you can get in front of somebody in their home, any type of home repair, handyman service, construction, pool building, it's just a really easy connection there. And we work with partners. And to be honest with you, man, we could do a better job of it.
I was thinking about that a couple weeks ago about pest control companies and how they're getting so many people, and there's so many other businesses that are lacking on that. Like, lawn care businesses don't have door-to-door salesmen going across the country and whatever to sell their services. These pest control businesses are, and they could probably offer one or two or three more services to try to sweeten the deal or sweeten the offer, like just have more options. And you never know, people might be like, yeah, I don't want pest control, but I need someone to mow my lawn, or I need somebody to clean my window.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that. I'm like, I wonder how many pest control businesses do that already, if any. They're already trying, because they're in a home service and they're actively going out constantly. I think pest control has done the best job of hiring salespeople as a industry, because I don't see that very much from others.
You don't. It's obviously big in solar.
Yep.
There's some that do it with trash. I don't know if you knew that, but it's not like mainstream like pest control and solar, home automation. It's the recurring nature of pest control makes it so that we can pay quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So it's not just, if I get somebody through that first year, they're not really going to cancel unless they move, death in the family, lost job. And so there's going to be a percentage slough off, but that's why pest control works so well, is because we can pay a lot.
Yep.
And the reason why we can pay a lot is because we're going to keep that customer long after that initial sale.
So we talked a little bit before we started recording. I see a lot of pest control businesses that aren't on the service end aren't holding up. And especially here, because there's so many that grow so fast. So, I mean, you said you focused really hard on that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I just wondering about that a little bit, because there's not a lot around here I see, and there's a lot of people. I mean, my parents themselves have hired probably 2 or 3 pest control companies that just didn't fulfill what they said, and it was recurring charge. There's times where they didn't even show up, and they would call them and ask about it, still get charged, and they're like, no, that person came, and it's like, no, they leave cards and we have cameras, they never came, like, and then they're like, oh yeah, well, they don't work anymore. And it's like, how are these lies going to keep going and not fulfilling the service, and before these companies just don't even have any business?
Yeah, we especially the fast growth pest control companies that are growing mostly through door to door, but there's some other, marketing avenues out there that are experiencing this, but we have to do better. There's a couple of flagship companies here that they'll tell you, hey, we're not a pest control company, we're a marketing company. And And there've been moments where my company Proof has gone through that, where we're having meetings and we're talking about, putting everything into the marketing and sales side. And then we'll have our operation directors be like, hold on a second. Like they'll put us back on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. There is, now there was an acquisition a while back, a landmark acquisition, that changed this type of mentality. Because what used to happen, and I'm kind of breaking into some industry secrets here, is so pest control companies, what they would do is they would grow really, really, really fast, and then they would dump them on the market, right? They'd dump their pest control company on the market, and they get a large multiple. A few years back, a large company did this, and it just put a bad taste in the mouth of any potential acquirers. So you're seeing right now in the industry kind of this pullback addressing exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because the acquirers, the large companies, the Terminex, the Orkin, these $1 billion companies, they're like, wait, hold on a second. Is this door to door? Is this, let's look at they're looking at some other things, not just top line revenue. Mm-hmm. And so there is a little bit of correction going on in pest control, but you're right. And I think this can be, this corollary can be made to any business.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, the best way to get what we want is to give somebody else what they want. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep. And
it wasn't happening. So, and you can see it in business disruption, where it's like, man, we're getting a lot of calls from customers. We're getting so many of these mean customers calling us. They're mad, they're upset, that I'm having a hard time keeping my call center staffed. That's a sign. Sometimes you need to listen to what's being said to you as a business owner, and as opposed to digging our heels in. And in blue collar industries, I've learned this. Because we kind of been around, and we feel like, hey, whatever somebody says, I'm just going to make them happy. I'm going to kind of woo them a little bit, and then I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Now, not everything that somebody calls in and tells you should change about your business, you should change.
Yeah.
But if you continue to hear it, if that's the 4th, 5th, 10th, 20th person that told you, maybe it's worth looking at. And that's what's happened in the pest control industry. It's like, hey, your guy didn't come out.
Yeah.
And Jaden, I've had that happen, dude. I've had techs not do that. Now, we've done stuff with full GPS, dual facing cameras on all of our vehicles. They have to take a minimum of 3 pictures, time stamped at different parts of the property. So we're trying to do all these things because what you're saying is true.
Because that's how you can keep them accountable for going. And at the end of the day, that reflects on your business. And how do you expect to keep getting people lining up to pay you for pest control if you can't even do it in the first place? So it's an interesting. I mean, from what I've seen, a lot of small businesses don't want to put money into marketing because they can't service what they have.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just there's some businesses that I've seen that just don't care, and they just want to get people in, and whether it's just they pay for a couple months and then they quit. I mean, it would make sense to want to have the customer at least for a year if you're having a recurring charge like that. But if you can't even keep them for a year, then what does it matter?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting scenario. I would be interested to see more small business, blue collar businesses adapt more marketing strategies.
Yeah.
Like this, because this is a big scale a lot of times. And there's a bunch of companies that would do really well, but they lack on the hiring, like we talked before, and lack on the personnel and the ability to service. And most people don't do it because they don't want to have that happen.
Yeah. Over the last 3-4 years that I've been coaching businesses, I'm a scale first, ask questions later type of person. Not everyone is like that, and that's completely okay. Yeah. The cool thing about owning a business is it's yours.
Yeah.
Right? And it's what your vision is. So, talking about this, I'm talking to the the entrepreneurs, the ones that are like, and there is, I will give the folks that are like, the owners are personally getting their hands dirty every day. I'll give them some credit because I have this really good friend of mine has a very successful HVAC company, and he runs the entire thing by himself. He does the invoicing. He does all the, every once in a while he'll have somebody, if it's a large project, come in as a contractor. And I asked him, I'm like, I could help you scale your company. And he's like, no, I know. He's like, I just don't want to. Yeah. And that's a dude that like has some perspective because he realizes what he wants. And I respect that. Because when you hire people, things change. So I'm consulting a new startup pest control company out of Florida right now. And it's funny how like kind of jaded my mind is because I have hundreds of technicians on the road, probably as we speak. And with that, things can happen that don't happen with one person.
Yeah.
So that being said, if you're a blue collar worker and you want to build your business, then absolutely, like you're right. I see folks that are like, they're so good at the technical aspect. It's like the opposite of what we were talking about before with the door-to-door sales. Those guys like, hey, we got the marketing sales down. We got revenue coming in. It's the doing the work that we're struggling with.
Yeah.
Most blue collar, especially if you're a technician, you have some technical background. It's the other half of it. Yeah. It's like, hey, we've got the work down. We know how to do this. We don't know how to implement systems, employ people, whatever, the business side more. And there's a lot of blue collar industries that could use that kind of business acumen.
Well, you touched on something super important is they don't want to.
Yeah.
But we have Instagram and social media and stuff telling everybody that they have to. So they feel like they're like, oh yeah, if you're a business owner, you shouldn't be on the job and all this stuff. It's like, some people like to do that. Like,
so stupid, man.
You have people out there saying, if you're an entrepreneur and you own your business and you're out there working every day, you don't own your business and you're doing like all of this stuff is wrong. And, you're basically saying that they're a failure. But we're back to people have different things that motivate them.
Dude, it's so stupid. Like, so I have 100 fallacies of social media and I post on my Instagram every once in a while a new fallacy.
Yeah.
That one's got to be on there somewhere that the owner has to scale their business or they can't work in their business. Otherwise they're not successful. Yeah. I got to add that to the list. That's like somebody telling me, I like sports, right? That's like someone telling me, you shouldn't like sports. You should like, quilting.
Yeah.
It's like, why the hell should I like quilting? Because you like it?
Yeah.
So if somebody, says, hey, you have to scale your business. Now, there is some truth in that, like if you're looking at selling a business, like you're going to have to replace yourself if you're heavily involved in the day-to-day. That's all true. But whether or not somebody should scale their business, that's not like saying you stop at a red light, you go at a green. That's not like a factual based thing. That is purely subjective.
Yep.
Because there are dudes out there that they get a level of fulfillment by going to work that they can't get anywhere else. They need that.
Yep.
So who is somebody else to say you don't have a business because you picked up a hammer? That's stupid.
Well, exactly. And I think it's a lot of people. Everybody needs a fulfillment in some way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get it from doing things.
Yeah.
And that's how, humans, we've been building things forever, working with our hands, doing stuff. We're in such a age right now where people are on their computers working over the technology, and it's not how we're meant to be, I guess. It's awesome because we have all of these ways to make money and we have all of these ways to get things done, and we have a system that allows us to do that, but there's a part of us somewhere that wants to do something with our hands, build something, whatever it is. And some people can take that and apply it to a business. I want to build this business.
Yeah.
But some people like the hands-on stuff. Yeah. So to say that you don't have a business because you're working in it just isn't true.
No, that's just, I haven't heard a lot of people say that to me. but I would have a big problem with that.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of the business, coaches nowadays, or like just the Instagram influencers that are just the same old, you got to have this amount of money and you got to make this money and you got to do this and that and you got to have your employees and, you got to like basically telling people what they need to do rather than saying, yeah, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah. What's funny is when I start with I only coach 2 businesses at a time, and I do it to be able to tell stories like I've brought up many times today and create content. Mm-hmm. I charge, but I charge very minimally for the amount of value I feel like I add. And when we start, the very first session is, what are you wanting to do with your business? And if they need help kind of with ideas or questions to kind of jog their thought process, that's fine. But it's not, you should do this with your business. And the reason why I start there is because what the process is going to be like for them is going to change depending on their answers. Mm-hmm. If someone's like, hey, I want to do $1 million in my first year of I'm open. I want top line revenue of $1 million. All right, we got some work to do. You're going to need to inject some cash, right? But if it's somebody that's like, yeah, I want to grow my company by 50, perfect, because I want to spend time with my family. I want to be doing some of the services myself. I'm not going to tell them, no, you shouldn't be doing the services. Like, you tell me what you want. I help you get there. Like these gurus on Instagram saying like, now if someone comes to me and they're like, hey, I really want to scale my business. I want to like do some big things. I want to be 3-5 years down the road and free up a lot of my time. Okay. Then we kind of got to work you out of the business so that it doesn't rely on you day to day. That's different.
That's different.
But it's not me saying one way or the other is right or wrong.
Yeah. No, it's the social media and the internet in general has made a lot of information available, and it's almost become facts rather than opinions. It's like true. Everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere is a fact. I mean, I talk about health and fitness a lot, and it's super important to me. And a lot of people don't ever get started because there's so much information out there. Where do you start? What do you do? Like, well, yeah, you say I can't eat this or I can't eat that, and I can't, work out in the morning, or I can't work out in the afternoon, or, I need to work out every day, or I only need to work out one time a week, or running's bad for you, running's good for you. There's so much out there, and it all comes down to what do you want to do with your health.
Yeah.
And if you say, I just want to be healthy, yeah, there's plans here and there, but everybody is giving their experience as the only way to go.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I'm like really into like health and fitness too. Mm-hmm. And I always try like weird stuff. And so a couple of years ago, my wife got me into cold plunging. What's funny is we jump in our swimming pool and in Arizona, it gets like the water gets cold in the winter because it cools down so much at night. So my pool was, mid 40s.
Yeah.
So we use that as a cold plunge, and I'm like, I jump in and hated it at first. And then the next day I'm like, hey, Jules, you want to cold plunge again? And she's like, yeah. And then so we jump in together. The next day I'm like, hey, you want to cold plunge again? And she's like, no, I'm done. She hasn't done it beyond those 2 times.
Yeah.
But it was her idea, and I've done like several hundred now, and I have like an entire setup for the summers and whatever. And then just the other day, just like 3 days ago, she's like, hey, you want to do a 48-hour fast with me? And I was like, sure. I mean, I told her like, hey, stop asking me to do stuff because I'm rarely going to say no.
Yeah.
And so we do it. But when I've done the cold plunges and I've done the fasting and a bunch of other stuff that I've done with fitness, just like you're saying, I do a bunch of research. I read a lot about it. And there are no 2 people that say the same thing.
Oh, never.
Cold plunging, like what's the temperature? What's the duration? How frequently you should do it? What time of day should... No one says the same thing about that. Yep. And so when people are going through this process, don't think about what's right for somebody else.
Yep.
Take all the information and see what works for you. So if you're trying to like start a workout process, just freaking go. Like I do some weird stuff to the point where I've been working out for 10 years and like it's like waking up in the morning for me. Yeah. I just do it every day. It's no longer difficult. Somebody that's just starting, they gotta like figure out what their process is. And you can take ideas from people for sure. You can take workout ideas. You can take like, hey, what are people doing intermittent fasting? Are they not eating until whatever, right?
Yeah.
But that's another thing about social media that bothers me. It's like, okay, this is the way to do it, and this works for everybody. Yeah. When it's like, hey, get some information, go see what works for you. Yeah. There's people that are like, hey, the only time I can work out is 10:30 at night, but it works for me. Then do it. Do it that way. That's not how I would do it. But who am I to like tell people? You know, it's just another one of those things. Like, do what works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about the good benefits of social media all the time, and it seems like I don't talk about the hard parts about social media and stuff enough, because it's stuff like this, and I don't really like scrolling on there anymore, and just because of that, I mean, I see different stuff all the time. You know, there's people that are so passionate about something that I see, and I'm like, that's dumb. I would not want to do that. But they're like, this is the only way to do it. And I'm like,
it's usually because they have something to sell.
Oh yeah.
So theirs is the only way. And, you know, we're all on different paths.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, people struggle with I have very, very lofty financial goals. And when I talk to financial advisors and planners about them, they try to challenge me on it, like it's right or wrong. And I'm like, I don't know. It may be wrong for you.
Yeah.
But it's right for me.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we're on different paths. That's why I don't like, one of my big problems with social media is that it's this natural environment to compare yourself to others.
Yep.
Now, I don't have a problem with comparison if it's used for motivation, like this. Hey, there's this guy I follow on social media. Dude just lost 10 pounds in 30 days. I now know that that's possible.
Yep.
I'm going to go after. That guy's awesome. This is how not to compare yourself to people on social media. This guy's 30 years old and he's a millionaire driving a Lambo, which is probably all lies anyway. 90%.
Yep.
Some of them, yes. 90% lies. I'm 31. I'm a failure.
Yep.
I hate that stuff. Use it to motivate yourself. And trust me, dude, I have some demons in my head. Like, I have imposter syndrome like you wouldn't imagine. And each step I take toward my goals, the more imposter syndrome I get. And it's something I battle. But I notice, like, I'll catch myself. I'm looking at some people, even in the valley, big names in the valley. And I'm like, man, dude, I'm just not there yet. But I catch myself. And over the years, I catch myself sooner. So use people in your network, use people on social media to motivate you and make you better. Mm-hmm. But take what they say with a grain of salt and see if it works for you.
Yeah. How have you run into that a lot when you're coaching business owners? Because it's a common theme to be in your head, not thinking you're good enough. But a lot of the people aren't doing like all of this health and fitness and working on themselves, and they're stuck in their head, but they're not even trying to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. First of all, if you want to fix your head and your emotions and your mentality, you fix your body.
Yeah.
That I can't imagine, like, even when I'm super stressed, I'll just go for a walk. I'll take a really tough conversation. I'll take a walk during it, because just moving my body relieves some of that stress. But, dude, I have those moments where, I mean, so I started my first podcast in 2020, and I have a pest control exclusive podcast that I did for 3 years, and then I handed it off to my partners. I have a pest control course that teaches people how to build pest control companies, and we have advertising partners, and it's just like this whole thing. It's called Bug Bucks. It's pretty cool. But, you know, like, I've spent thousands of hours on social media and podcasts over the last few years. Every single day I want to quit, because, like, and I'm a little older guy. I'm not like your typical 25, 35-year-old. Like, I didn't grow up with social media. Okay. The first social media platform I had was Instagram. No. It was Facebook, and I was almost 30 years old. Yeah. So, which there's no problem with that. I'm just saying it wasn't part of how I grew up.
Yep.
And so it's not like my favorite thing.
Yeah.
But it's good. There's a good use for it.
Yep.
But every day I want to quit. So yeah, kind of going back to that, like you really dig down and find out why. So if I have a company that I'm coaching, they come to me and they're like, "Hey, Alan, should I do this?" What I want to drill down to is why. Are you doing it because you don't want to get to 30 without having a Lambo? Or do you want to do it because you have small kids and you want to make sure that they're taken care of? And, I think when I go through those moments where I'm like, man, I just want to quit. Why am I doing this? I'm just like, oh, I know why I'm doing it. And I have a whole morning routine, which is also cliche, but it works for me. And I just kind of lean on that. Like, hey, why am I doing this? And I have a higher purpose than, flashing stuff on Instagram.
Flashing stuff on Instagram. It's definitely a thing. But a lot of people are finding it hard to grow on Instagram, I think, because that was so popular. And it's not. Because people are seeing through the lies.
Yeah. Yeah.
People want the truth, and they want people to be real and be like, look, this is life. It's hard. It's going to kick you down. You just got to keep going.
Yeah.
So it is hard because everybody struggles to some degree with something. And most people struggle with all the same stuff, like we've talked about, wanting to quit and comparison and imposter syndrome. And it's just easy to get into that mind that you see somebody that's successful and they must not have this problem, and that's why they're successful. So I suck because I'm having this problem and I can't get through it. And social media.
It's funny because I'm trying to be more authentic and real with my social media, and it's not easy for me to do it. And then there's also this, I don't want to come across as I'm complaining, right? And then there's also this, I'll have people that are really close to me, like I'll share a story about like how I'm like really pissed about a certain employee or whatever, and I won't ever go into specifics, just this general idea. And I'll have my business partners or my family reach out, dude, are you okay? Yeah, I've been doing this for like over a decade. It's just, and I've had these conversations. I have one partner specifically that every time he's like, bro, are you have no, and I love that he does it. And I tell him like, hey, keep doing it. But by the way, I've been doing this for over a decade. I'm just making it more vocal so people know. Yeah. Like Alan's not perfect. Yeah. Alan like has all these issues. And if Alan did it, I can do it. That's what I want them to think. Yeah. And that I don't want people to think that business is smooth sailing. Yeah. Like Instagram shows.
Oh, definitely shows that.
So.
Well, awesome. We're coming up on time. How, anything else you want to add for people listening? Businesses, employees, like anything you want to add on?
I have a few mottos that I live by, and one of those is that regret is a lot more scary than risk. And there's all types of risk, but very rarely in my life have I taken a risk and regretted it. Now I've taken a lot of risk and failed. I'm an angel investor. About 40 to 50% of the checks I write go to zero. So I think it would be that. Just I want people to kind of take an inventory of their life, and it doesn't matter if it's it doesn't have to be I'm moving across the country and starting a new business in a new career field. Whatever the risk is that is prohibiting you to get to what you want, go for it. Because like they did this study with a hospice nurse, and she was working with like people that were dying, and she started asking them, hey, what do you regret most? And they found, just basically, this is oversimplification, but she found that people regretted not trying stuff. Yeah. They didn't regret when they tried something and they failed. So, for the listener, and it's cliche. I have a lot of cliches, but, go for it. Go for it and fail. Fail is a really strong word, but I'm writing a book and I'm trying to change the mentality of the American Entrepreneur about failure. I understand the concept, but it feels like failure's final, but it's not. It's learning is what it is.
Yeah. Awesome. It was a great conversation.
For sure.
Yeah. It was awesome to have you on. I've been following you for a while, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be a good conversation to have.
Heck yeah. Loved it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out.
No, my pleasure, man. My pleasure.